It was a gun.
I'm not voting.
If we want to build our nation.
The problem with the Somalians.
Just want to experience something else than a black man.
Move on, move
Can't be like a horse with blinkers. Honestly say, I was about to have sex and then I pulled
crap,
up.
but it's nice.
My name is Linda Titus. I am a film production manager working in documentaries.
Nokubonga Yawa. Well, I'm wearing so many hats, but today I'm just an activist.
I'm Khumutso Matsunyane and I'm a loudmouth.
Colored people, they are the most racist people. Shame. I don't want to lie, because they are the ones who always tell you, this kafir, this baboon, whatever. Whereas you meet a white person, you make friends with them, you can even date them. Their parents maybe won't have a problem, but some they will. But with coloreds, I promise you, they will question their daughter. Who is this boy? What does he do? Where does he study? Do you know his family? Okay, we don't trust him. It's always the case with colored people. You can go to Hayderveld where there are poor colored people. It's the same issue. And I ask myself, okay, Cape Town, racism, where exactly does it come from?
It's self-hate. It's what we were taught. White is right, so the whites are the better. So, and then, like they say, you forget about black mother. Who respects black mothers? Even black women don't respect black mothers. You know what I'm saying? Just like they don't. Nobody respects black women. We're the most reviled, hated, used and abused people
Burnt
on
at the
the
stake.
planet.
Yeah.
On the planet, we are the most. People like just feel like they're gonna go to the bathroom and wipe themselves with black women. You know, so when you take it from that perspective, why would they respect that then? Oh no, we're gonna forget that we ever had her as a mother for us. Forget about it. We want, we're gonna straighten the hair, we're gonna do all of this stuff. It's an enormous amount of self-hate, and it is taught. Hate is taught. You're taught to hate yourself, you're taught to hate other people. So black people, we hate the too black, the stuff that's considered too black about us. What do you think colored people hate about us? The fact that we're too black.
I've lived here for 12 years now, and I still have moments where I go into an establishment and it's all good and well until maybe I leave the table that I'm at and go out and realize I'm the only black person there, and I kind of have my oh shit moment. But it's not like oh shit because I'm scared, but it's just what's going on, I mean, I think Cape Town still manages to shock me in that way.
I was in a taxi recently, and the combat taxis, not Ricky's or any of that stuff, the combat taxis, and the gachi was black, Xhosa, and the driver was colored, and the gachi called him clean bus.
No.
I was just like, wow. So that, for me, underpins Cape Town.
Yeah.
It's still so racist that even the black people still see themselves. The bus system is still there, accepted by both the blacks and the whites. I'd say it's about 10 years behind Joburg in that manner. It's not like white people in Joburg don't feel like that, but the ones in Joburg know better than to, they know how to behave.
They are less
Let's put it this way. And I think they're more but they're more exposed also to black people. Whereas in Cape Town, more educated black people. Whereas in Cape Town, there's much more of a gap.
They're more street smart, but here.
I think, but also because they're more integrated.
Yes.
I think you don't fear the other when you see the other and you interact with the other more. It's not then professionally. If your boss happens to be a black woman, then you will understand that it's just like, oh wow, so bosses are bitchy regardless whether they're black or white or whatever color that they are. So I find it behind. And it's a numbers game. It's as simple as that. There's just less black people here than any other racial group.
When I went to register my child at the school, I was going around all the school viewing how the school is, because I wanted to make sure that the school has libraries, has labs, all those things, So I was going alone, and the principals would ask, do you know how much the school fees is? So because I'm a young black lady, they assume that I cannot afford to pay the school fees. It's the same when you go around viewing the flats. You get the same. Or maybe you make a phone call.
And they don't tell where you're raised from your voice.
Yes. So it's only when I went with my white boss to the school, they said, oh, okay, here's the application form and you will need to submit it immediately because we have a lot of parents applying for their children. And we got the school, even though they said it was full. We got the school because they thought my boss was the father of the child. So if I went there alone, my daughter would have not, got there. And even at the school, when I go for parents' meetings, they'll ask, where is the father? We only saw him when you came to register. They're still convinced that he is the father. Are
black people in charge?
No.
I see black people in parliament. So how can black people not be in charge?
Jeez, have you seen some of those
black
parliaments?
people in parliament talking about they still back in the apartheid where they say, okay, I was there, I was fighting, during the struggle, so I deserve to be in this position. It's all about positions, not about making a change in this country. Whenever I look at our government, I'm like, well, okay, yeah, we'll always vote for this party because it's our party. We don't want it down there. We want to keep it burning. But to be honest, I don't see any improvement.
We can't be blaming apartheid for not delivering. It's what both of you were saying. Like, we can't blame it on not delivering because that's a different story altogether.
We acknowledge it.
We acknowledge it, but that's a different story.
Right.
It's something different. If you're going to embezzle public funds, it's not because you're a victim of apartheid, it's because you're a thief.
But the only change you make is with the vote, and you're still saying that you're going to continue voting for the same people for a while still. And because it's first of all, there's no options that I see. That it's very frustrating. I'm thinking of spoiling my vote. That's what I'm thinking.
Me too.
And, are you really?
Yeah.
So it's.
I've been thinking about this.
We'll see.
The last election.
Did you?
I think I'm going to spoil it again. Even my daughter comes back sometimes crying at school saying that, Melissa said this to me. And I'm like, you know what? You are black. Be proud of yourself. You have a kafrare. Be proud of that hair. Do not ever put cream relaxer because she said about something about your hair or she said something about your color. This is who you are. You will never change.
I think the colored black issue is a huge one that nobody is even touching or dealing with at all. I'm a little disappointed, because I love Patricia de Lille actually, and I used to vote for the PAC when she was there because I'm like, well, at least she's still, she's there. She's got some chutzpah and she's
she did a great thing with the house.
She really did.
She really.
But even she doesn't touch it, and I think she is perfectly placed to touch it actually. And she's a little too quiet there in the DA.
The integration with the DA.
Hey, it's a bit compromising.
It was a muffler.
It was a bit. It was a huge
muffler.
It was a huge muffler, and I think because there might be huge philosophical issues that they need to iron out themselves. But I think that's who but Patricia, as somebody who comes from black consciousness and as a so-called colored woman who I'm sure calls herself black.
Seeing the fight between Helen Zille and Zuma. Going to Twitter, they asked Zille whether the red was black or white. So remember when Helen? They did ask, was the red black or white? They said,
apparently it wasn't even a rat, it was a mouse. No, here's the thing though, is that I'm not a victim of anything.
Yeah.
I'm not a victim, and I mentioned earlier what happens with black people in this city as well. Is you claim what you want. I tell people how to treat me. If there's a transgression, I sort it out as soon as I can. Sometimes I let it go. Sometimes I couldn't be bothered. So it just kind of depends either on the mood that I'm in or that I don't want to deal with things a certain way. And I don't know how that racial thing's going to come up. Right now, it's all focused on the black and the white. Another thing that is happening lately at Cape Town, it's only happened once to me, but it was a week after it had happened to a friend of mine, is that there's racial profiling at the airport.
Oh.
You know what I mean? So apparently I look like I smoke dacha.
Because they have dreadlocks.
And so they were going, and listen, they went for, let's say, like, we're kind of earthy looking, like, woo, dashikis, what, like, we're a mess, you know what I mean? We are a mess. We just look like, Africa, get up to the side, you know what I mean? And yeah, it happened. And I remember asking them, just like, you know, you did this to my friend 4 days ago, and she doesn't speak Xhosa. And it was black, of course, by the way. That's the other thing. It's like that. And I said, you didn't do it. You were very upset.
Yeah.
You know, you were very upset. And her name is Leslie. Do you remember? Oh, they kind of remember. And they're going through my stuff. They're struggling to open it. I'm like, have you ever, my sister, who stop, you know, like a white person? Do you ever stop white people? Yes, ever stop it. Like, you are lying. You are lying. 3 black people stopping me, a black woman, for what I think is because I was too African looking. For whatever. So I was profiled.
No one's born racist. That's for sure. So yeah, no. But people are taught it. And whether parents know it or not, or however subliminally it is, there's always that distinction that the shade of your skin. Well, breaking that wall would be having to ask people to be more open-minded and happier with themselves, which is a big ask unless we all go for group therapy.
And I think it's an LSM thing as well, you know. There's a class thing. I think there's a certain class of people who really don't care. There's like that black, the Indian, you know, they feel safe because they're not fighting for kind of the same resources that you might be. Where you're talking about people who are fighting literally for the same kind of job and both feel entitled possibly to have it. Probably more the colored person than the black one who's like, you know. Now you've got a deal where you've got to introduce affirmative action to try and redress the imbalances of the past, and yet still being able to allow people the opportunity to thrive in those positions. So I don't personally find it a problem. I think it is a huge problem within the city. And how do you solve a problem like that? It's about humanizing each other.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, apartheid had to benefit from making us feel like we're different. This one, you know, like my dad went through the pencil test in a Sophia town because he was very light skinned, so they couldn't quite figure out. I mean, there's those who didn't even have to go through the pencil test. It's like, oh no, really?
I think it's about being on the side that makes life it just makes life a little less persecuting. That makes life less tough. That makes life. I mean, I can't say if I was given that choice whether or not I would choose this to less melanin. Like, I don't know. I can't say that, and I can't blame anyone who does, because racism, especially back in that day, was a really tough thing. I mean, it's sometimes a matter of life and death. Like, not a lot of people have a lot of conviction, and it's not to say that they're weak or strong, but some people just need to survive.
My dream is to see or have my grandchildren growing up in a free country where they don't have to worry about their hair, they don't have to worry about their skin, not feeling ashamed to speak their own language.
My dream is not to have to explain myself over what I physically am.
My dream is to live in a country that celebrates all excellence, regardless of the package it comes in, and to have a government that has enough thick skin to withstand criticism that comes from a good place.
You should ever sit and talk with people, or else take a walk and create a straight talk. Talk what is nice, it will make you feel stronger. Listen what is right and say what is wrong. You should ever sit and talk with people, or else take a walk and create a straight talk. Talk what is nice, it will make you feel stronger. Listen what is right and say what is wrong.